Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel again. I am Vijay Lohar and here we are with another Cisco practical, and that is static routing. So in this session we will see how to configure static routing using Cisco Packet Tracer. We have already discussed about this application in our previous video, and we have seen how to configure our lab in this application. So we are not going to talk much about this application. We will directly go through the practical. So I am here with multiple router here. I am using 2600 series router, 2600 series router to create our lab, so that we can configure our static routing with multiple router. And we need some LAN computer, so we will use switch. As you can see here, I am using 2950 model of switch, and now I'll add some computer here. And next thing, we'll have to connect every device with each other. So what we have to do here is, let's connect every computer with the switch first. I'm using any port of switch to connect computer. I'm using straight through cable here. As you can see here, that is copper straight through cable, and now I can connect my router to switch to router using fast Ethernet port of this router. And at the other end, I'm connecting every computer with the switch, and this will be the second LAN. And next thing, I'll have to connect second switch with router. So we have connected our LAN computer both end, and now the next thing is we'll have to configure and connect our router. So first of all, verify if we have serial interface to connect on the router. As you can see here, there is no serial interface. There is only fast Ethernet port, console port and auxiliary port. So we'll have to add some at least one WIC port or card to first router, and the second router will have two serial interface to connect with first and third one, and third router will require at least one serial interface. So let's add serial interface in router 1. So I'm going to switch it off. I'm selecting this WIC 1T connection, and I have added this. Just drag it here and drop it here and switch on your router, and now this router will require two serial interface to connect both router. So I am just switching it off and added two serial interface and switched it on back. And now for the third router, we require only one serial interface to connect, so I have added one serial interface. So what next we have to do here, we'll have to connect each router here. We will use DC serial DC cable to connect router. As you can see here, I am using serial 0/0 of router 1 to connect router 2 with serial 0/0, and again I am using DC cable serial 0/1 interface of router 2 to connect serial 0/0 of router 3. So we have configured our lab. The next thing we'll have to set here some network information, like if you want to configure this network as 172.16.0/0/0.0/16, this network will be 192.168.0.0/24, and this both router, which is directly connected with each other, will use 15.0.0/0/8, whatever you want, and this router, this both router will use 16.0.0.0 16.0.0.0/8. So there are four different network here, that is 192.168.0.0/24, another network is 15.0.0.0/8, 16.0.0.0/8, and 172.16.0.0/16. So at the end of the practical, we will have to verify that our 192.168.0.0/network/24 network is connecting and communicating with 172.16.0.0/16 networks every computer. So what we have to do here is we will have to configure router first, and just click on that, access your command line interface, no for the auto configuration. Now enable configure terminal, and first of all I'll set host name for router 1 as R1. Now I'll have to configure interface of router. So I'm going to configure fast Ethernet first. So I'll use command interface fast Ethernet 0/0, this interface with this network IP address. So I'll use 192 IP address 192.168.0.1/255.255.255.0, and to activate interface I'll use command no shutdown. As you can see here, it's initializing interface and the fast Ethernet port of router is active now. So what next we have to do here is we have configure routers fast Ethernet, and now we'll have to configure this serial 0/0. So we'll exit from fast Ethernet and we will access interface serial 0/0, that is this one. So I'll use command IP address to set IP address 15.0.0.1/255.0.0.0, and no shutdown to activate interface. And to synchronize with other router, I'll use clock rate command to set clock rate. So clock rate is set and both interface is configured now. So IP in brief, to verify IP address of interface, you can use show IP in brief command. As you can see here, fast Ethernet is having 192.168.0.1 of this network, and the serial interface is 15.0.0.1, which is this one. So we have set IP address. We can copy running configuration to a startup configuration to save our configuration in NVRAM, which is currently in RAM. So we have configured this router, and now next we have to configure second router, which is connected with router 1 and router 3 directly. So we'll have to configure both serial interface, and this router is not having any LAN computers or Ethernet connected network, so we don't have to configure that. We just have to configure our configure terminal. Host name will be R2 and interface serial 0/0, that is this one. IP address must be 15.0.0.2 because we have already set IP address 0.1 15.0.0.1 at routers serial interface 0/0, and we will use command no shutdown. And we don't need to set clock rate here because you need to configure your clock rate only one side of DC cable to synchronize with other router. And now next we have to configure this interface, that is serial 0/1. So I'm exiting from serial 0/0 and accessing interface serial 0/1, and I'll set IP address of this network, that is 16.0.0.1. subnet mask is 25.0.0.0, and no shutdown for activating, and I can use clock rate here as DC interface, and I can exit from here. And now to verify show IP in brief, you can use this command to verify if the IP address is properly configured with your interface. And both interface is properly configured. So I can copy running configuration to startup configuration to save. Now this is router 3 and we'll have to configure this one. No, enable configure terminal, host name should be R3 and interface. As you can see here, this router 3 is connected with two interface, that is fast Ethernet 0/0 is connected with LAN computers and serial 0/0 is connected with router 2. So I'll set IP address for interface serial 0/0, IP address 16, it should be 16, as you can see here, 16.0.0.2, 16.0.0.2 and subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. and to activate, no shutdown, and you don't need to set clock rate because you have already set clock rate at router 2 interface, serial interface, and now your interface is up. And now exit from the serial 0/0 of third router and access interface, see fast Ethernet 0/0, which is connected with LAN. So I'll use this range, IP address of this range, like IP address 172.16.0.1 255.255.0.0 of this network, and this IP address will be the default gateway for every computers connected with your LAN computers. Exit. Now verify if you have configured your IP address properly. So IP interface brief, and as you can see here, your IP address is properly configured, but as you can see here, status of your fast Ethernet is administratively down because we have just set IP address only and we didn't use no shut command. So configure terminal interface fast Ethernet 0/0 and just use no shut command and your interface will be up, as you can see here. Switch is initializing the port. So we have configured IP address for all interface of every router, and what next we have to do here is we'll have to set IP address for the computer. So I'm going to this computer and 192.168.0.2 because we have used one IP address on routers fast Ethernet and it will be the default gateway for every computer. So 192.168.0.1 will be the default gateway for every computers. Should be 4 and default gateway will be this one. Okay, we have configured our LAN computers of 192.168.0.0/network. Now we'll have to configure IP address for the computers which is connected with 172 network. So I'll use here 192.16.0.0.2 and the default gateway will be 172.16.0.1. Assigning IP address to every computer. So we have configured IP address for every interface of router as well as for the computers too. So what next we have to do here is we'll have to configure routing method so that your router can forward IP packet one network to another network. As you can see here, there are 4 different networks, that is 192, 15, 16 and 172 network in this lab. So your router device can forward IP packet one network to another network using its routing table. Routing table contains routing information, route information, and router device are capable for forwarding packet to another network, and routing table can be managed by either static method or dynamic method, which is also called static routing or dynamic routing. Static routing method is a manual routing method where the router administrator manually update its routing table using hand typed method, and in other hand dynamic routing use routing protocols to update and manage its routing table automatically. So if any changes happens in dynamic routing, that will be updated in every router dynamically automatically, but if we are using static routing, every changes should be managed and configured manually. So let's proceed with the practical and let's see how to configure static routing. So first of all, verify which route is already known by your router. So IP route is the command to verify your routing table. As you can see here, there is nothing here. The most important part is this one, and that is your router already knows about 15 network and 192.168.0.0 network, because both network is directly connected, and as you can see here, C is defining connected network. So this router is having only route information about 15 network and 192.168.0.0 network, and this router's routing table must be updated with 16 network and 172 network. So let's proceed to configure routing table for not connected network. So I'll use command configure terminal, and I'll use command IP route. IP route is the command used to set static routing. So what new network should be in router 1's routing table? That is first 16 network, 16.0.0.0/255.255.0.0.0, and this network is connected with serial 0/0. That is the exit interface of first router. We are configuring our first router. So for accessing 16.0.0.0 network, our exit interface will be serial 0/0, and we'll have to use administrative distance value, that is 1. By default, static routers static routing method use 1 as administrative distance value. Administrative distance, we have already discussed about that. It's an anonymous number or metric to calculate best route and trusted route. As you can see here, I have set 16.0.0.0 network in our router's routing table. We have added this network in our router's routing table manually. You can use this command to add any remote network information in its own routing table, or you can use IP route, remote network information, remote network subnet mask, and next hop address. Next hop address defines the next address which is directly connected with your router, and that is this one. This is IP address of this interface which is directly connected with your router. So the next hop address is 15.0.0.2, which is configured with router 2 serial 0/0 interface, and you can choose administrative value. So you can use a static routing command, IP route, remote network information, remote network subnet mask, and next hop address or exit interface of your own router. So let's proceed for the next router update, and we have added 16 16.0.0.0 network, and now we'll have to add this network in our routing table. But because if you verify show IP route, now you can see that there are 3 network which is listed in first router's routing table. So we'll have to add another network, that is 172.16.0.0 network. So again, configure terminal IP route 172.16.0.0, subnet mask is 255.255.0.0, and I'll use serial 0/0/01, or I can use 15.0.0.2 by 1 as the next hop address. You can use any of this command, you don't need to type both command. Any of address can configure your static route for the remote network. So we have configured every network in our first router. So let's verify. So IP route, if both network is listed now, as you can see here, there are 2 static routing, S4 static, that is 16 and 72, which is the both network are remote network for the first router, because first router is directly connected with this both network, that is 15 and 192, but 16 and 172 is the remote network for router 1. So what next we have to do here is we'll have to configure this router, that is router 2, and what router 2 already knows. Let's verify it. Enable show IP route. As you can see here, your router is already known about 15.0.0.0 network and 16.0.0.0 network, but this router is not having any list about 172 network and 192 network. So this router need to update this information and this information. So we will use same command to configure here. Configure terminal IP route 192.168.0.0/255.255.255.0, and this network for router 2, this network is connected with serial 0/0. It's on interface, here it is, and administrative distance is 1, or you can use next hop address for this router. For accessing 192 network, next hop address will be IP address of this interface, that is router 1 serial 0/0, and the address is 15.0.0.1, and administrative distance value is 1. Okay, so we have configured or added 192.168.0.0 network. Now we'll have to add this network on router's second router's routing table. So what command we will use here? The same command we will use here, and that is 172.16.0.0 255.255.255.0.0, and this network for router 2, this network is connected with serial 0/1 exit interface, or you can use command with the next hop address, that is 16.0.0.2, that is the next hop address of directly connected router. So that will be 16.0.0.2, and administrative distance value is 1. You can use any of this command. So if we verify the routing table of router 2, as you can see here, now all 4 network is listed in its routing table. 2 network, that is 15 and 16, is directly connected with the network, as 172 and 192 network is statically defined or updated by the router administrator. So what next we have to do here is we'll have to configure a static route for the router 3, as router 3 already knows about 16.0.0.0 network as well as 172.16.0.0 network, but this router doesn't have any information about 192 network and 15 network, as you can see here. 16 is connected, 172 is connected, but router doesn't know about 15 and 192 network. So this both networks should be updated in router 3 manually. So we will use command configure terminal IP root 192.168.0.0 and exit interface for router 3 is serial 0 by 0, and I haven't used administrative distance number here, I can use here. And now if you want to use next hop address, you can use command IP root, and the next hop address for this router for accessing this network will be IP address of this interface, and that is 16.0.0.1, that is 16.0.0.1, and administrative value is 1. So we have configured using both method. We have added one network, that is 192. Now we'll have to add this one, that is 15.0.0.0 network. So I'll use command IP root 15.0.0.0 255.0.0.0, and this network is connected with serial 0 by 0, administrative distance value 1, or by next hop address is 16.0.0.1 and administrative distance value is 1. So we have added both network here, as you can see here. So IP root, and this router is also having all 4 network information right now. So now your router or computer can connect with other side network. So let's verify it. First of all, go to your command prompt and let's verify. We will randomly check the connection. So first of all, this computer is going to check if this interface is communicating ping 192.168.0.1, which is the default gateway, and we are getting reply from this interface. Next, I'll verify if I am accessing serial interface, and that is 15.0.0.1. I am getting reply from this interface, and now verify if I am accessing other routers serial interface, and that is 15.0.0.2, and even we are getting reply from this interface. Now verify if this computer accessing this interface, and that is 16.0.0.1, and it is connected and communicating. Now I'll verify this interface. We are getting reply from this interface too, and next we will finally verify if we are communicating with the computers. 172.16.0.2, which is the IP address of this computer. Let's verify it. As you can see here, it's taking a bit time for the first time as request time out, and now we are getting reply from this computer. So if I type it again, as you can see here, we are getting proper reply from both end. So you can verify from this end also. Ping 192.168.0.2 is the IP address of this computer, and this computer is replying us. So this is the method of configuring static IP address. It is not a very tough job, but make sure that static routing is basically used for a small network, as well as this is one of the most trusted root method, and you can use static route with dynamic route as a backup route. If the dynamic route fails, it can operate, and it doesn't require any regular update, so it's very fast too. And if any changes happens, you will have to manually change your routing table, and it's not going to update automatically. In large network, you can make some mistake during configuration, and that will be very difficult to identify. So for large network, this is not suitable much, but for a small network, it works very fast and very reliable. So guys, this is how to configure static routing. I hope you like this video. In our further video, we will configure dynamic routing protocols to update router's routing table dynamically, and I hope you like this video. If so, please do subscribe with our channel and do share with your friends. For this moment, bye bye.